Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to tackle one of the most mysterious and, let's be honest, one of the most intimidating books ever written, the Book of Revelation. It's a book that sparks so much curiosity, but its complexity, well, it often makes people feel like it's just impossible to figure out.
You know, for so many of us, opening this book feels like stepping into this just chaotic jumble of strange and frankly frightening images. You see words like 666, the mark of the beast, Armageddon, and it can all feel so overwhelming that the easiest thing to do is just shut the book and walk away.
But here's the thing. The book itself starts with a promise. It says we are blessed for reading it, for hearing it, and for taking it to heart. So right from the get-go, it's telling us this isn't meant to be some locked box of confusion. It's a message that's meant to be opened and understood.
So where do you even start? How do you solve something this complex? Well, the best way to think about it is like a giant, super complex jigsaw puzzle. At first glance, all the pieces are just scattered everywhere, and nothing makes sense.
And this right here, this is the method. Think about it. With any puzzle, you don't just grab a random piece from the middle and hope for the best. No way. You build the frame first. You find those straight-edge pieces to create a structure. Then, you start grouping pieces by color and pattern. Only then can you actually start putting together the big picture. And we're going to use that exact same logic right here.
Okay, so once we've got our frame built, we find out something interesting. It turns out there are a few different blueprints for how all these puzzle pieces might fit together. That whole study, the study of the end times, it actually has a name. It's called Eschatology, and it gives us these different theories for how to assemble the puzzle of Revelation.
So now, let's take a look at those different blueprints. And look, while there are a bunch of theories out there, we're going to focus on the three big ones. Just think of them as three different instruction manuals for putting together the exact same puzzle.
And you know what? The differences between these big three views, they really boil down to how they answer two key questions about two major events, the millennium and the tribulation. First, is that 1,000-year reign a literal thing here on earth, or is it more symbolic? And second, is that 7-year tribulation a literal future event, and what's the church's role in all of that?
So at the end of the day, it all comes down to the timeline, how these different views line up, all the final events, especially the timing of that millennium in relation to Christ's second coming. That's what gives each view its name and its totally unique structure.
Okay, this chart is awesome. It puts everything side by side so we can really see what's going on. The first thing you'll probably notice is that amillennialism sees both the tribulation and the millennium as symbolic. The other two views, they say, no, these are literal future events. But, and this is a huge but, they disagree on a really crucial point, the timing of the rapture, which is this idea that the church will be taken up from the earth.
All right, first up, amillennialism. That A at the beginning, it literally means no, as in no literal millennium. This view sees that 1,000-year kingdom not as some future event, but as a symbol for what's happening right now, the spiritual reign of Christ through his church, which started way back at his first coming and will continue until his second.
Next, we've got dispensational premillennialism. This one's a really popular view. Pre means before, so this view says Christ returns before a literal millennium. In this timeline, the church gets raptured, taken up, removed from the earth, before a literal 7-year period of suffering kicks off. After that, Christ comes back to set up his 1,000-year kingdom right here on earth.
And that brings us to our third view, historic premillennialism. Now, it agrees with the last one on a literal tribulation and a literal millennium. So what's the big difference here? It all comes down to the church. This view says the church goes through the tribulation. The rapture doesn't happen before it starts, it happens at the very end, at the same time as Christ's final second coming.
Okay, so we've looked at three different blueprints, three totally different timelines and ways of seeing things, and you might be sitting there thinking, so what? What's the point of all this? What's the final picture on the puzzle box? What are we building towards?
Well, what's the destination? No matter which path you take, the final image is one of just profound peace. This incredible picture from the prophet Isaiah, it just nails the feeling of that promise, a time when all of creation is renewed and perfect peace is everywhere.
And this is the most important part. This is the big takeaway. While the assembly instructions might be different, the final image, the finished puzzle, isn't about fear. It's about an incredible, profound hope. Every single one of these views ends with the ultimate victory of Christ, the final defeat of evil, and the creation of a brand new, perfect heaven and earth.
You see, when you stop seeing Revelation as this scary, coded book you're not supposed to touch, and you start seeing it as a puzzle to be solved, everything changes. The whole thing shifts from being a collection of terrifying warnings into this powerful promise of ultimate victory. And so that really just leaves us with one final thought. What picture does this puzzle ultimately form for you?